Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink, it is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today I wanted to talk about some Trade League exclusive topics related to how prices within the game get affected by bugs, by misinformation, and how people are weaponizing misinformation in order to cause price shocks in items. I want to start though by looking at a case where there was no malice involved. Just a good old-fashioned honest mistake. And this is the case of the Progenesis price cratering. You'll notice that this flask, this is a new unique flask that was added to the Uber Mavens drop pool recently. You'll notice it fell really hard in price between December 12 and December 14. You might be wondering what happened there. One of the first players who got their hands on this powerful flask did a number of tests with it, and they concluded that the flask was bugged. Now this player was not lying. This player sincerely believed the information that they were sharing to the Path of Exile subreddit, but they made a post saying that Progenesis appears to be bugged. Instead of deferring 25% of damage like it says on the tin, it's deferring 18.5%. This gets widely believed, and boom, boom, item craters in price as a result. Then it starts to pick up again. And why does it pick up? Because someone else does further testing with a flask, realizes the mistake the original poster had made, and proves the item was actually working as intended. I'll put a link down in the description below to a video that someone else has done on Progenesis that carries out all of these tests and demonstrates that the item is working exactly as intended. So the item starts going back up in price. This is an example of how misinformation impacts prices within Path of Exile. This was not done maliciously, this was just an honest mistake. Players done some testing, they haven't understood the interaction that Progenesis has with Energy Shield or with Mind Over Matter or with Ward, one of these mechanics, and as a result they draw the erroneous conclusion that the item is bugged. However, the voice was amplified tremendously because the Path of Exile subreddit will always upvote anything that looks like a complaint, that alleges a bug, or that alleges a stealth nerf, and as a result, those upvotes had a huge impact on the visibility of that erroneous testing result and caused the items to collapse in price. So, misinformation can adjust prices within Path of Exile. What happens when people use this information maliciously? Well, we see what happened with the fracturing shard between December 11th and December 12th. Now, the fracturing shard has continued to increase in price, and I think that is organic. I think that is based upon people sincerely just using more of them, because these are a very powerful crafting tool. But early on, it was driven by fear of missing out, because someone made a post on the Path of Exile subreddit with a whole bunch of made-up statistics alleging that these things were mirror shard rarity tier. As a result, they started massively spiking up in price. This information was demonstrably false, and you could see that immediately if you looked at the number of them that were available for trade. I pointed this out on that post, and eventually the original post deleted it, probably because they realized that the post had already had its desired effect. It had already caused the price of these fracturing shards to go up, 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 as they'd intended it to do. So what are the ingredients when someone decides to be a scammer, to weaponize misinformation in order to send a price of an item up into the stratosphere? Firstly, they'll buy a whole bunch of the item themselves. Secondly, they'll make a post over on the Path of Exile subreddit that alleges a stealth nerf, or that alleges GGG were dishonest, and therefore will end up getting upvoted by everyone that just wants to have a bit of a complaint about the game. And they'll often just make up a whole bunch of statistics that seem realistic. But one of the biggest problems here is that sometimes there are genuinely bugs. Right now, Trials of the Goddess are simply not spawning in maps. They're meant to not spawn at all in white maps, and then to spawn roughly 8% of the time that you open a yellow or red tier map. However, they are flat out not spawning at all for players. The only ways to get them are from Delve, from Heist, from Rituals, and a few other places that can drop them. And that's one of the hidden consequences of weaponized misinformation being used as a way of manipulating prices in the Trade League economy. It means that when there is a genuine bug, it's much harder to see. Anyways, I wanted to close with a couple of little tips to avoid being scammed by these price fixes. If you see a post on the Path of Exile subreddit that alleges something is much rarer than you expected it to be, do a little bit of research into the number of them that are available for trade. If you believe that it is actually as rare as people are making out, then in that situation, maybe you do want to buy them up. On the flip side, if there's lots more of them available in circulation, then you should assume that the post was made either erroneously or intentionally to mislead, and you might want to consider buying the items up. But you'll be buying them up to immediately relist them. And that's something that you can use so that these scammers end up enriching you rather than themselves. That's something that will dissuade them from acting this way in the future. If you take advantage of their attempts to scam other players and you make it so that you end up making that currency rather than them, then their scam has been less successful and they're less inclined to repeat it. That's all I've got for now. May your Volobs have interesting results, and I will see you around.